Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I'm Brian.
This is a podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from entropic elementals to ephemeral ettercaps. And today, we're talking about Eladrin, or Eladrin. The Dungeoncast.
Well, which is it, Will?
I'm not sure, actually. I kind of bounce back and forth on the pronunciation. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Eladrin, but I think Elijan sounds better. I don't know.
It sounds suspiciously like Aladdin when you say that.
It does.
It makes it sound kind
of.
of.
They have nothing to do with that.
Okay, good. What do they have something to do with?
Okay, so the Eladrin were originally introduced in second edition, I believe, in the Planescape setting as kind of like celestial elf type people.
Planescape is separate from Forgotten Realms.
Planescape's its own setting, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool.
And the Eladrin in that, I believe they were like celestial elves, really strongly aligned with chaotic good.
Nice, okay.
They got a huge overhaul in 4th edition, which carries to now, which switched them from being celestial themed to being Fey themed.
Cool, okay. So is chaotic good, is that completely, what are normal elves like? Are they
Elves in
lawful?
general are chaotic good. The chaotic part is more about like freedom and independence. Elves live really free and independent lives, even though like high elves will see like a lot of like tradition, but it's not like law. Does that make sense? Like dwarves tend to be lawful good, and they have like strict codes of ethics, and it's all about honor and dignity, and like tradition is like hardcore with them, and rocks. And while elves are more, their tradition is freedom. It's about freedom of choice and expression, about finding one individual self. They're very, I guess they're kind of spiritual, and
so they're
like extra wise.
They're airbenders, and they're just really pretty.
I guess so.
Really pretty airbenders.
Sure. I don't know enough about Avatar to
They sound exactly like airbenders.
Okay, and that makes sense because the air is usually an element associated with chaos and freedom and whatnot.
And before the Fire Nation attack, they had all this like heritage and tradition. They had like statues of like airbenders around, and like they build like temples, and they have like murals depicting their history and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that's
I don't
traditional,
think...
but they're all about freedom and
Okay, so maybe
chaotic.
It's very much like that. Yeah. So, and fails. Eladrin take the chaotic good bit to like an extra new level.
More chaos,
indeed. In 5th edition, they went from being just Fey-themed elves to really leaning into the whole Fey nature bit. We'll get into that.
The whimsical blue-orange morality bit.
Yeah, we've really reached a point now where the Eladrin are almost not elf at all anymore.
But they're probably elven looking.
Yes, we'll get into how they look. They still have the form of elves to a certain extent.
It sounds like a Charles Darwin-esque, like where they separated by a mountain range, and now they're like...
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty fitting here.
Okay.
We'll get into it. So the Eladrin they're the oldest living of the elven races that are left. And they are the closest to the original common ancestor of all elves, the primal elves.
Oh, shit, so they're like the OG.
Kinda. They're not quite the OG. They're son of OG.
Yeah, them. The son of OG.
Indeed. That basically after the primal elves were expelled from Arvandor, a huge subsection of them settled into the realm of Feyry, the Feywild, and then they stayed here.
Okay.
While other primal elves kind of went off into other planes of existence. This core group of elves stayed here, and they became the Eladrin. And so the general idea is that they've spent so long within the Feywild that they have become almost entirely Fey creatures, with a weaker and weaker tie to Corellon Orethian and Arvandor and all that other stuff.
So when did the name change happen? Because they're probably all elves at first, and then they are just like, we are no more elves. We are Eladrin now.
I mean, they still are elves. It's
but they identify as Eladrin, I would assume, since that's what they're called.
It's hard to say. Basically, once they were here long enough for the Feywild magic to start seeping into themselves. Also, they may have divorced themselves from their original primal elf name in like almost immediately.
Okay.
That's a whole complicated story of like Corellon Lorethian and like what happened to the elves and why were they expelled from Arvandor and Lolth and all this other stuff.
Man, there's so much spillover from just like God's intervening in their mortal realm.
And also
semi-mortal?
like it's immortal.
Elves are immortal? Eladrin are immortal?
No, they're not.
No, the gods are immortal.
The gods are immortal.
I mean, like living 1,000 years, that's like to a human that seems immortal.
When we revisit elves, which we will do, we're going to talk about why they live so long. And like the fact of the matter is, like, elves, why are elves so fucking awesome at everything they do? Well, that kind of gets explained because
it's almost annoying.
Elves weren't created by the gods. Like, Corlan Lorethian didn't create the elves. Corlan Lorethian was attacked by Grumsh, and when his blood was spilt by Grumsh, his blood birthed the elves. They're the children of a god.
That's cool.
And thus they are more powerful than your normal mortal.
Is that how the Greek gods got made?
I don't know.
Like Titans, like through them, they're like bile or something like that. They're like some weird bodily fluid.
Yeah, sure.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
The sweat of Cronus gave birth. No, that's probably not right at all.
No, I like that though. Okay, so let's get back into the legend. So, okay. They are, even though they're the closest to their original primal elf ancestors, their relationship with Corlan and Arvander has actually grown more distant than anything because they've grown closer and closer to the Fae. Now, there is some conflicting lore here because in Mordenkainen and Stone of Foes, it talks about how the Fae magic changing the Eladrin to be more like their original primal elf ancestors has actually brought them closer to their more mutable forms that they had before they became elves.
Okay.
And like this has made it so that some Eladrin have been able to come back to Arvander. But like again, at the same time it's stating that like they've grown more distant and don't care about Arvander anymore. So
what is Arvander exactly?
That's remember when we talked in the Abyss episode we talked about how there's all these planes with that match all these different alignments?
Yeah.
Arvander matches chaotic
good. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the chaotic good realm, and so it's where Corlan's from.
Is it like Valhalla-ish? It's kind of ringing a bell.
It will get its own episode.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know too much about it right now, but it's like this
chaotic. Is it where Frodo goes at the end of
Okay, you know how like here's my interpretation as of right now. You know how the Abyss is like this chaotic, ever-changing hellscape?
Yeah.
Imagine a chaotic, ever-changing heavenscape that's like beautiful and pristine and magical and wonderful all the time.
It's
but
just
it never
a nice
stays
place,
the
but
same.
I'm constantly lost because the landscape is changing.
It's very reminiscent to the Fae, and it's why a lot of the Prime Elves came to the Feywild because it was the closest thing to Arvander.
It's like I can't get out of here, but there's always food and water around.
Pretty much. So essentially Eladrin are super magical Fey elves whose appearance actually changes with their moods. They've become so infused with the natural magics of the Fae that like they have these different forms. They have 4 forms and they're based off the 4 different seasons.
That's like Frieza.
Does Frieza have what?
Well, now he's got 5 forms.
Well, okay, yes. It is like Frieza having multiple forms, but Frieza's forms are not based off the seasons.
True.
Okay.
Well, that depends.
No,
you're right.
No.
They're not.
Okay. So, Eladrin, they look like elves, but they have this really monochromatic aesthetic.
Okay.
So, like, depending on their form, they'll have like a certain like color. So, like, let's say a summer Eladrin, they'll be generally golden. No swimming trunks. Maybe swimming trunks. Why not?
They're beach Eladrin
but like their hair will be golden and their skin will be golden and their eyes will be golden and they just look like this monochromatic statue. Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of the look. Not because it doesn't look good, because it does look cool, but we're now getting into territory where the playable race is so inhuman as to be unrelatable to me. Because number one, we've really leaned into their Fae personality, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And so like you got this whimsical fairy man or woman or non-gender.
Yeah.
And then they don't even look human. They look like statues. Like it just starts becoming so unrelatable. I wouldn't want to play it.
You know the street performers in like Hollywood and San Francisco?
Yes, they look like that.
They're like spray painted silver or gold. They wear the shades. They don't move.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, perfect.
That's exactly what they look like.
They look like
but gold
like
and
MC Hammer pants on.
No, they don't look like that part. But like they have that look to them, that statuesque monochromatic look. So the colors are like gold for summer, green for spring, this kind of red autumn, orange for autumn, and blue for winter.
Okay, that's that. What's that Pokemon with like the antlers that does that?
The deer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It does exactly that. Yeah. It's just like in spring, it's got like flowers on its horns and stuff.
Yeah. Except for these forms change with the demeanor and mood of the Eladrin. And this can be interpreted in a bunch of different ways.
So it's summertime, but they feel like a spring right now, so they look like a spring? Is that
each of these forms is associated with a certain mood, which we'll get into at the end of the episode. We're going to talk about the forms at the end of the episode. Okay. So this whole monochromatic seasonal thing is really different for 4th edition. In 4th edition, Eladrin were kind of like the high elf of 4th edition. As a matter of fact, they initially got rid of the High Elf. It was like, no, you have Wood Elf, and then you have Eladrin.
Oh, shit.
And Eladrin are Fey now. They're not Celestial anymore. There was some backlash to this, but I think overall people kind of liked it, and they brought High Elf in later for the old school fans, which
4th edition
sense.
went hard, man. They're like, it's like this.
It really did.
Yeah.
Like, it was really bold. I mean, I think there was a lot of great stuff to come from it, but I completely understand the failure of 4E.
Yeah, the liberty that the player gets to take remains the same regardless, though.
Right. Now, there were seasonal variants of the Eladrin in the later end of 4E, but they were introduced as like high-powered monsters that you would fight. They weren't like playable characters.
Okay.
But yeah, the 4E look for Eladrin was more like this Fey-touched elf. They had like more striking facial features than your normal elf, which added to like this otherworldly look. Their eyes were like these opalescent orbs of a singular color, so it'd be like lavender or like blue or green or whatever. Just even more leaning into the otherworldly look.
Like no iris.
Yeah,
like
no
that.
iris, just solid color. Whew. Yeah, and it would be really disconcerting, but beautiful is kind of like what they're going for.
Yeah.
They held a really strong association with like the celestial bodies of like the sun, moon, and stars, which now that I think about it, is probably a leftovers from their original celestial kind of origins.
Like that, the pagan kind of thing?
Well, no, I just mean like they remember in 2nd edition they were celestial elves.
Okay. So
maybe their association with sun, moon, and stars in 4E was kind of a tip of the hat to like, yeah, they used to be in space, remember? So,
with the what? With the hippo men.
With the GIF, yeah.
Yeah, the GIF.
They often had like magical runes and glyphs of like a moon, a crescent moon, or like a star or whatever on their face or whatnot. They basically... they just looked really Fey-touched, but in an awesome way. They all looked like a bunch of Fey warlocks, but they weren't, or they could be.
Yeah, they could be. They could be.
So, and did
you get more face tattoos based off of how many felonies you commit?
No.
Okay.
That's not the election, no. Their hair was mostly like silver or gold, but it could also be other unnatural colors like blue, green, or pink. The idea was their hair was unnaturally colored and always like a light or bright color.
Okay.
So very, very Fey, very whimsical.
Not like highlighter, right? Like more natural. Like
honestly, it could be interpreted however you want. Okay. A lot of people I played with, they would go full anime hair, which,
nice.
Which works. I think
like
that's
that
awesome.
bright blue, like
bright
half
blue,
up, half down.
That bright pink, which you see people do that with gnomes a lot too, which I like. I like
that's
that
cool.
as well. Yeah.
Because gnomes are like from the Trolls movie, like the toy, the troll.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, so being the closest in form and ability to the primal elves, and the fact that their society is the oldest and possibly the grandest because it's been around the longest, they have all the best, biggest stuff, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay. They've had longer to build everything up.
Indeed.
Collect more gold, etc.
Exactly. But because of this, they tend to be very, very, very prideful about being Eladrin, and they're very, very haughty about it. And especially around other elves, that's when they really start showing off. Because
look, a wood elf.
Look how awesome I am. Look at me change my forms. Look how awesome our architecture is. Oh, did I just cast a spell?
Why don't you go back into the woods? You know, the normal woods.
Well, they're very they're very proud of their Fey heritage, and their ability to thrive in the Feywild is a big part of it. Because the Feywild, as we've established, is an incredibly dangerous place.
Yeah, man. To like maintain a society in that a place like that is pretty hardcore.
And not just maintain, but build these like huge crystal cities, like in the middle of these Fey forests. Like they thrive here.
I'm getting some Wizard of Oz.
They
Oz
revel
vibes
here
from that.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of Feyness you could derive from the whole Wizard of Oz bit.
Is the Wizard of Oz kind of like Fey stuff? I guess kind of, huh?
I mean, I don't think it's meant to be.
Super fucked up in there.
Yeah, I don't think it meant to be, but there's
there's talking trees.
Mm-hmm,
they try to kill you.
Trees that try to kill
you.
There's witches,
little people
and
that would probably try to kill you if you didn't kill something that was trying to kill them.
Everyone's a little bit on the cartoonish and whimsical side.
Yeah, like the horses change colors.
Yeah, the horses change colors. Yeah, I would say it's probably very Fey without meaning to. It was leaning into fairy tales, which also derive a lot of stuff from Celtic Fae and all that stuff. Okay, let's take a short rest.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode where we're not talking about the thing we were talking about. We're going to talk about this hot Discord. Mm-hmm. That, thanks a lot, Jack Ford, for setting that up for us, man. That was really nice of you, and man, it's been pretty fun interacting with you guys on there.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, we have a Discord now, and you're all invited. We're going to go ahead and put the link to our Discord in the description of this video and probably all future videos.
Yeah.
But it's a place for people who like the show to get together and talk about D&D, and there's all kinds of cool conversations going on there right now. There's people looking for games, people talking about world building and character creation. There's a meme sharing page.
I like that page.
It's been really cool to see that like there is a Dungeoncast community. Like I know there is because obviously people watch the show, but it's another thing to be like, oh wow, people actually showed up and everyone's talking and having a good time. It's a lot of fun.
Are these humans?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We held our first Q&A today.
Yeah, we did
for Patreon only people, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, really great questions. Yeah, so once a month we're going to be holding a Q&A for anybody who's on Patreon. You get a special password to get it into that page of the Discord. Mm-hmm. And we did like 30 minutes of questions, and I think my favorite question had to do with what our favorite breakfast burritos / sandwiches
were.
That
was a good question.
I don't know if it's velocity or velocity, but I like it either way.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Good question.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're all invited, and I suggest you guys come and check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. So for everybody that came into Patreon, it's time to shout you out. It's now. It's happening. So thanks again, Jack Ford. I don't pop mollies, but we rock Jack Ford.
What?
Remember when I told you you'd be confused when I said something? Okay. It was that.
Gotcha.
And shout out to anybody who got that reference. Jack, if you have questions about that, let me know in the Discord. And also to Jack Bremner or it's Bremner. Sorry, mm-hmm. Jack Bremner. Thank you.
Jack. Thank you both Jacks.
Yeah, thank you, Jacks. Thantos, that's suspiciously close to Thanos.
Thank you, Thantos.
Thank you, Thantos. Mariko Fujimoto.
Thank you, Mariko.
Daniel Heyman.
Thank you, Daniel.
And Ambrosia T. Barella IV.
Thank you, Ambrosia T. Barella the fourth.
You were.
Thank you.
You almost had it.
I almost had it.
Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to find our Patreon, it's patreon.com/thedungeoncast.
We got bonus content.
We got bonus
episodes.
content. We got bonus content. There's actually the $10 tier is getting a huge buff. It's been a little lacking on the lacking side, but it's getting a new game. Ranger Danger is finally going to be out and released this week.
Yep.
Or I guess the week previous to this episode dropping. It should be out before you hear this. Then I'm going to be doing a superhero game. It's going to be mainly 2 players most of the time and me, dungeon mastering. We're going to be setting it in Waterdeep. It's going to go into the $10 tier. It's going to be just a rough edit of what our game is every 2 weeks or so. And we're going to have guest stars as often as we can.
Yeah. Now, it won't be as polished as some of the other bonus content because I believe the impetus for this is Brian's just putting together a game, and why not record it?
Yeah, basically. And I was like, hey, I want to just do something special for the $10 people.
Yeah, so, and I agree. I think it's a great idea.
I was going to do it anyway, so I have recording equipment. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't get it recorded.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you want to tell somebody about the show, though, that would be sick as hell because we thrive off of that. We live, breathe, and eat telling people about the show, so they listen to it, and hopefully they like it.
Indeed.
Are we still running a contest?
We are. God, there's so much to announce.
Sorry for the
today.
long, short rest.
Yes, we're still running a contest as of this episode. I believe next episode will be the last episode.
That sounds right.
Where we announce.
That is right.
Anyways, we're giving away 2 awesome fancy dice sets. One is an Elven dice set. The other is a Dwarven dice set. And if you want to win one of these sets, all you got to do is tweet a link to the show with the hashtag Dungeoncast and the hashtag of the dice set you want. Hashtag Elven or hashtag Dwarven. They're both really nice sets.
Yeah, if you forget to hashtag it, we're going to randomize it.
Indeed.
So you'll still be entered if you tweet out a link to the show.
I guess I should clarify. When I say tweet a link to the show, I mean tweet a link to an episode or homepage of our show. A lot of people have been tweeting the tweet where I talk about the contest, and that's not how you enter the contest.
Yeah, no.
You got to share the show itself.
Yeah, the whole point is for you to share a link so the people that see it click it and maybe listen to something.
Right. But yes, we have a contest going, and we're going to announce the winner on August 1st.
Yeah, on Twitter. Which is the Dungeoncast at the Dungeoncast.
Indeed.
I forgot how Twitter works for a second. If you want to send us an email, thedungeoncast@gmail.com is where you can do that. You can send us some feedback or questions or anything like that, or you can jump in the Discord and ask us questions, and we'll probably answer a lot faster because that's like a live thing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah. Find our Discord. There's a link below. We're on YouTube. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, we are. Mm-hmm. That's everything. Let's get back to this motherfucking show.
Let's do it.
I feel like I I took a long rest instead of a short rest. I didn't really mean to.
I feel the same way. But let's get back into it.
Yes.
So
what were we even talking about? Eladrin?
We were talking about Eladrin.
Aladdin?
Eladrin.
I really love
what?
What's his face? Oh man, I forgot the name.
What?
The genie.
Oh, Genie?
Well, who's the voice actor?
Robin Williams.
I love Robin Williams' performance.
Okay.
Oh man,
you and the rest of the world, Brian.
Clambered through that one.
All right, let's get back to Eladrin.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the chaotic nature of the Fae is really infused into the Eladrin, not just magically, but like into their mindset, making them notably more fickle, dramatic, emotional, and capricious compared to other elves. If Eladrin spend enough time outside of the Fae, these traits will still exist, but they will actually mute to a certain degree.
That makes sense. They're not being influenced by their environment as much anymore.
Right. They're still generally good and kind people, by the way, but it's just they're a bit dramatic and a bit emotional and very fickle.
They're avocados.
Very mercurial.
They're extra.
What? Okay, moving on. Generally speaking, the Elijan actually revel in their Faeness, and unlike all the other elves, they don't long to go back to Arvandor and Corellon. They rather meld with the Feywild, and they even believe that particularly powerful Eladrin can reincarnate. Well, they do reincarnate, but if they're particularly powerful, they can reincarnate into powerful Archfey.
Oh man, so they're confirmed reincarnation?
Oh, elves constantly reincarnate.
What?
Yeah,
we mentioned this before.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in depth in the Elves 2 episode.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, elves reincarnate constantly.
Wow.
What I like about this is it kind of explains why people like Asmodeus aren't bothering with the fucking elves, because Corellon has them on lock.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not worried about them.
Just don't worry about it.
They're too chaotic anyways.
Yeah.
But anyways,
can't get rid of them. They're like flies, really, really pretty flies.
Right. But so the Eladrin believe that they not only do they believe this, but it's a lot of their goals to become an Archfey and join like the Steely or the Unsteely court and whatnot.
Oh wow! Cool.
And due to the fact of how long they live and the fact that they believe this means it's probably true, because I'm sure they've lived long enough to either have seen it happen or not happen. You know what I mean? And the fact that they believe it, I would imagine Eladrin can be a powerful Archfey.
Like they're just like hanging out with Grandpa again. Like reincarnation and stuff.
They're reincarnated, but
not like that. Like
but they don't know. Yeah, they don't know who they were.
Yeah, they go back into the soup and they get a mind wipe, and that piece of soul goes back into a body.
There's this thing called the remembrance that we'll talk about in the Elves 2 episode.
They're like
it's a little confusing.
There's so much like Aang that just reminds me that can they like genetically tap into their like memories?
Basically, when elves get to a certain age, they kind of start to do that automatically, but it kind of also ruins their lives when this starts to happen.
Like Assassin's Creed. More like Assassin's Creed, less like the Avatar.
Does his life get ruined because he remembers things?
Yeah, because then he gets embedded into this like society of Templars and assassins, and like now he's being hunted and shit.
Okay, maybe there's a similarity. We'll talk about that in the Elves 2 episode. Okay, but besides this weird thing called the remembrance, Eladrin life is one of decadence and grandeur. Their architecture and cities represent the pinnacle of all elvenkind. Soaring towers and possibly arcing bridges. Their homes are like magically gilded with gold, because you can't gild with anything that's not gold, because then it's not gilding.
Okay.
Their cities are crafted with like crystal and stone and exotic woods, and it's all integrated with these really natural looking formations, like waterfalls coming out of like the tops of towers and tree groves, like basically growing into and out of the houses, and gardens that
that's rad as hell.
Gardens that like seamlessly meld with their constructs. Like it's just really goddamn beautiful.
That sounds great.
This is where I'd vacation to. If I had a choice in the world of D&D.
You would just need like one friend to kind of show you around and keep you from getting beat up or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, if you're in the city, you're probably safe. You leave the city, that's when shit gets hairy.
You're not safe from like the mentality of these assholes. They sound like assholes.
No, they're generally, again, very kind and good people. They play good music. They like beautiful things, and they eat good food. Like they view combat and swordplay as like an art form. Like
it's like old Paris. It's like France in its heyday when they first started building everything and like baking all that good shit.
Okay, we're gonna keep going now. Elijan, like I said, they love beauty and they love surrounding themselves with it. This makes them the most materialistic of most elves. I think we've talked about how like, elves are generally very unmaterialistic. The material is so fleeting, like to them it's nothing, you know. But for Eladrin, because of their feyness, they love beauty and they love collecting beauty. They even go so far as to see beautiful people as things to maybe not collect. Maybe an evil Eladrin would collect, like an evil Fey person would collect beautiful people, but normal Eladrin that aren't insane just want to invite those beautiful people into their home and entertain them for some time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what's the, like, is there a, you know how like regular elves are, I guess, what is a regular elf at this point now that we're having this conversation?
What elf for high elf?
Yeah, sure. So you know how their like counterpart is drow? Is there like is it like, since you brought up like evil Eladrin, is there like a counterpart to Eladrin that are...
There's not like a hard counterpart like there would be with the drow, but like Eladrin are Fey and they are chaotic in nature. So I'm sure there are plenty of Eladrin that kind of fall on the unseelie side
like
of things.
Like the corrupted versions of them, like the E is backwards on Eladrin.
Yeah, Bizzaro Eladrin. Yeah, I like it. That's cool. But yeah, no, I'm sure there are wicked Eladrin that are like, again, fall into the unseelie type
that's not like what I was... So there's not really like a drow or equivalent. Okay. No. It's just like there are evil people.
Right.
Yeah.
We have some interesting new things to talk about when it comes to the drow. We'll talk about in the next Elves episode.
Okay. Elves the sequel.
Elves the sequel.
Okay.
Elves 2, Electric Boogaloo. Okay, so let's talk about the seasonal forms of Eladrin. Okay, so again, there's one for each season. They all kind of correlate to a different mood, and you can change the players. Mordenkainen Stomopho says that like at the end of a long rest, an Eladrin can change them at will.
Oh, nice.
So that's rules as written. I would not allow that to quite the extent that the rules as written do, because like it's supposed to be tied to your general temperament and mood. So like, okay, if you get angry, you're not going to suddenly become a summer Eladrin because that's not your general temperament.
Okay.
But if something happens to greatly anger you for like an extended period of time, I think you now have the option to switch from whatever you are to summer. You don't have to, but I would allow it. But like, I'm not just going to let you bounce around, probably. Although there could be an argument made for that. Like, they're so mutable, they can just do that. And like, when they do this, it changes their temperament. And I kind of like that too, but that's not how I would run it.
It can get kind of hairy because like, how similar do you really look? You could probably fool a lot of people with like this is basically the equivalent of a disguise in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, you're not too off from that. Let's actually get into it. So, Autumn Eladrin. This is the form taken by Eladrin who overcome with feelings of goodwill and kindness. Autumn Eladrin tend to abhor conflict and suffering, and they usually seek to resolve either of these things as soon as possible. And when they become Autumn Eladrin, their hair and skin color becomes the color of autumn leaves.
That's cool.
And again, this form's all about peace and goodwill. And a lot of the images that they show in Mordenkainen Stomopho's, their clothing and apparel matches them.
Yeah, okay.
So much so that they look like, they're so monochromatic they look like a freaking crayon.
They're just oozing magic.
Yeah, but
it's like aesthetic magic.
I don't know if I would allow your clothes to change. I mean, I don't know how much sense that actually makes.
Maybe if it's like the disguise self spell, right? Like,
yeah, but that's not what this is. This is like your body changes. You know what I mean?
But you can equate it to like a magic, like it's touching your skin. Like maybe like if you were holding like an evergreen leaf, it would turn like the color of autumn.
Maybe, yeah, I could see that. For me, the way I like this would be your hair, your skin color, all that changes, and then maybe like your hair, like literally leaves of a particular color grow out of your hair,
right?
And like maybe you have like magical ley lines in the form of like autumn branches and vines and whatnot.
How fucking cool would it be for like the hilt of your sword to like change its like dynamic based off of what mood you're in?
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Also, you're losing a lot of this because like you're sitting there role playing, and then when it happens, you got to re-describe yourself.
Right.
And
that's
like
true.
That can get really annoying.
It's up to however you want to run it. That's just not how I would run it.
You can get seasonal character art done for your character. It'd be kind of expensive, but you could do it.
Yeah, you just
I look like this right now.
4 commissions.
Yeah.
Okay, so Spring Eladrin. This form is taken by those whose hearts are filled with joy, whimsy, and lightheartedness. They spend their time cavorting, singing and dancing, playing pranks, and causing mischief. At this point, their hair and skin color turn to the color of like fresh-grown plants. And I think the image of the Eladrin in the book, he had like vines in his hair. I thought it was pretty cool looking.
Nice.
Summer Eladrin. These are Eladrin overcome with fury and aggression. These Eladrin tend to become warriors and are quick to answer any slight. All about boldness and aggression. So not violence necessarily, but like bold and assertiveness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the charisma side that you don't think of first.
Right, exactly. Now these Eladrin have more of a golden orange look, a reminiscent of the sun. And then finally, winter Eladrin. These are Eladrin usually that enter this form because in response to like stress or loss or tragedy as a form of sorrow. These Eladrin tend to be melancholic and bitter. Huh. This form's supposed to be associated with contemplation and mourning. Yeah, and they turn blue. Like literally turn blue.
Jack Frost style.
With frozen tears and whatnot. Yeah,
oh my
Jack
God.
Frost style, yeah. Yes. They're very emotional
Avocado.
people. Yeah. What?
They're extra.
Oh God. Anyways, I don't know if I like this avocado meme. All right. So let's get into the actual stats of Eladrin.
Oh yeah, how I'm kind of interested to know like how different it is from. Okay, so like Wood Elf gets separate stat boosts from High Elf, right?
Yeah, there are sub-race stats or features that you get.
Right.
So and Eladrin is a sub-race of Elf.
Okay, that's what I was going
to ask. So it's been a while since we talked about Elves, so I wanted to go over what Elves actually get, because Elves get a lot.
Meditation, sleep for 4 hours.
Yeah, you're going to get the trance. You're going to get a +2 to dexterity, dark vision. You have keen senses, which is an automatic proficiency in perception. Your Fey ancestry gives you advantage against being charmed and immunity to sleep spells. And yeah, so that's the general stuff you get from being an elf. But as an Eladrin, you're also going to get a +1 to charisma, which I think is fitting. Again, powerful personality, very associated with like charming and emotions and all that other stuff. So I think charisma is a good fit. And then the big one is you get a face step.
A what?
You get the ability to teleport 30 feet.
Oh, it's Misty Step, but it's Face Step.
Yeah, it's Face Step.
Okay, cool.
Gosh, for me, Face Step is something I said so often in 4th edition. Like, Misty Step is the weird sounding one to me.
Yeah, okay. I love that everything in the Fae just teleports. It's like it's just fucking normal.
Yeah, it's just a thing, like Blink Dogs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I believe Displacer Beasts can also do that. So, okay, you get a 30-foot teleportation per short rest as an Eladrin. And then based off the form you're in, this will have a secondary effect which kicks in at 3rd level. Again, each of these seasonal forms is going to affect your face step, and I have it printed out here. So the autumn form, immediately after you use your face step, up to 2 creatures of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you for 1 minute.
Ooh.
Or until you're...
That's some bard shit.
Mm-hmm. Or until... you or your companions deal any damage to them. So that's pretty potent.
Yeah.
Especially at 3rd level.
Some double charm person right there.
Very nice. For the winter form, when you use your face step, 1 creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of you before your teleport must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the end of your next turn.
Okay, cool.
So you just scare them with like, I don't know, some icy look of terror.
That Jack Frost style.
Indeed. For your spring form, when you use your face step, you can touch 1 willing creature within 5 feet of you. That creature then teleports instead of you, appearing in an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you.
Oh, damn. Pit trap? Within 30 feet of me?
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye.
That'd be really cool.
Fall into this pit trap.
Yeah. I think it has to be a willing creature, so...
Maybe they want to go to the pit trap.
No, you get your buddy out of a tight situation.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's very useful.
Poof, poof.
And then finally...
That's what teleporting sounds like.
Right.
In my campaigns.
And then finally, the summer form, immediately after you use your face step, each creature of your choice that you could see within 5 feet of
explodes.
You takes fire damage equal to your charisma modifier.
Spontaneously combusts.
Indeed, they do. I like that. Very violent, very, very bold and aggressive.
Yeah, sure.
So that's basically everything about Eladrin. Brian, did you have any questions?
If you're an Eladrin barbarian, are you always a summer?
Probably.
It's easier to dress like that.
Yeah. And why would you want to be anything else anyways? You're not into charming people.
So like if you rage, if you were like a spring and you go into a rage, you become a summer, I would imagine.
I kind of like that flavor. That'd be cool. I could also see a winter one. Like your bitterness and your basically the tragedy you've suffered is like brought you to this place of such
like,
darkness.
You're sad, but you're mad about
like
it.
This frosty anger.
Oh, both are good.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just teleporting, everybody spontaneously combusts, and then you rage and you just start like cutting people down with an axe or something?
That'd be really fun. That sounds really dope.
That sounds great.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that, I think we're done and we can call it a game.
Let's call it a game.
We're going to talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Oh, shit. Dungeoncast.